Meet Chef Sribala, a chartered accountant turned professional chef who has been documenting ancient South Indian recipes.
I'm an accidental chef, I would call myself, because I'm a chartered accountant and a law graduate and a company secretary. I was working as a head finance in a law firm, and I had taken a sabbatical from the organization, and suddenly I was posting food pictures in social media. That's how I became friends with Chef Ashish Basin, and my first cuisine experience in a commercial kitchen started with him in Trident, Bombay, and from then on there's no looking back.
Her area of research was later narrowed down to the Sangam period, and she is now doing a PhD in Sangam literature.
I started off as actually with Chola, because Cholas are always the most mightiest kings in the southern part of India. One of my friends gave me a contact in Koide Millet College, so I went and spoke to the dean there in history department, and that's when she told me, why Chola, why not Sangam? So that was a real eye opener, because when she told me Sangam is one thing which is totally structured, and there are a lot of poems in it, and why don't you look at that rather than the just Cholas? So that's when I started off, and that gave me a total dimensional change, paradigm shift from here to there, and it's been fascinating.
Sribala refers to books from the Sangam period to note down ingredients and work out the recipes.
Today we are going to do the most traditional dish called idiyappam, but it is not with rice flour but with amaranth flour. Amaranth flour is one particular superfood which is rich in fiber and protein, and it's absolutely gluten free. So it comes from a seed of a green, we call it as molakire in Tamil. So it's got a seed, from that this flour is extracted. Today we will be using the whole amaranth flour, that is 1 cup, and very little, less than a quarter cup of processed rice flour. Little salt and a dash of oil. And we'll be doing the idiyappam. So shall we start? Yeah. So for that, first we'll boil water, and then we'll add the flour to it. The problem is there are no earmarked books for culinary chapters there. So it could be as a passing reference on one of the poem. So you'll have to read a lot to cull out the information. I'm going to add a dash of oil to it. I'm using the cold pressed gingerly oil to it. Just a dash of it. Give a nice stir and totally switch it off. And then a pinch of salt. Add this flour here, the amaranth flour here, about a cup here, got. This is again a processed flour. It's readily available in the market, you can buy them. And I'm adding this flour also, the rice flour. This is again a processed rice flour. So this has to totally cool down before we make this into a idiyappam. What I'm going to do is again add a little dash of oil to it and let it cool.
You told us the flour itself is like a new reinterpretation of what was old, but the kheera must have been in use for a long time.
So this kheera is called molakira and always been in our cuisine from the ancient time.
The self-taught chef experiments with the ancient recipe of idiyappam, aka the string hoppers, reproducing it with a modern twist.
This is a modern take to my ancient food. So ancient is like ragi, idiyappam is always an ancient thing. Then thinai is one of the very ancient, even in Sangam literature. Thinai millet is a very common, often repeated ingredient in Sangam literature. But amaranth as such, as amaranth flour, it's not mentioned there. So I have taken that and I'm doing idiyappam, and probably I'll be the first person to do an idiyappam with amaranth flour. So let's start off now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give a boil of this. I've taken the most thin one, so you'll have the thin strings. So while doing that, you'll have to have little water in your hand so that it doesn't stick. Touch it with your hand like this, finger, wet your finger, take the flour and put it inside this, little more. It's ready now, just let's wait for the steam to settle down, otherwise it will stick to your hand and it will break. So we'll have to wait.
Sribala has now expanded her research to the Vijayanagara period as well.
Vijayanagara is much later, so I'm into that also. That is more structured, in the sense there are more scripts available for Vijayanagara because it's in the later part of the, about 600, 1400 to 600. So it's easier to go. It's not that tough as Sangam. And then I'm going to serve this with a more korambu.
Well, I've never had one before, and I'm sure if you're going to try, you're going to find it really delicious as well.